Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Cucchiara, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome in. Good afternoon. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon. Just a reminder, we're with you 5 days a week, Monday through Friday from 3 to 4. You can listen to us a couple different ways. One is on the radio at KDOW 1220 AM. You could also listen to us live online if you go to KDOW.biz. However, the most important thing, we'd like you to download the app, and that way you have access to the podcast. You can listen to us anytime, anywhere. Just a reminder, too, our live shows will be discontinued as of November 9th. The exciting news is that we're continuing the podcast, so you will still get the all the exciting, up-to-date information, education from our group here. And it will be Monday through Friday still. That will exist, and all the continued great information to help you become a wiser, smarter, more educated buyer within and around the real estate arena. Be sure to go to reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Download that, and then you get the podcast and follow the show. Follow and listen to it at your convenience anywhere you like. In the meantime, we're a live show. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to check in for me or my guests, there's two ways to communicate with us. One is the toll-free number during the live show. It's 1-800-516-1220. You could also text your questions into 408-838-9060. All right, let me invite my guest in. He's calling in today. He's with us for the entire hour. Looking forward to certainly to this interview for some time now. Mr. Jason Fritton. He is the co-founder and executive chairman for Patch of Land. We're going to be talking about crowdfunding today. Jason, how are you?
I'm not bad, Joe. Thank you for having me on the show. I've really been looking forward to this for a while as well, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and your audience.
Thank you, and as have I. So I'm looking forward to this. It's a great topic. We spent some time at the Think Realty Conference talking about this, and I interviewed some people about it, and it continues to be a hot topic and kind of on the mainstream of real estate, and not only real estate, but just in general, the crowdfunding conversation, so it'll be good. Before we get started kind of rolling through our talking points, Jason, if you could give our audience maybe a little bit of your background and then your current roles and responsibilities at currently at Patch of Land.
Sure. I've spent the last 20 years actually in technology startups, not specifically real estate. So I moved into more of the crowdfunding aspect early on. I built a couple of startups. My last company I built into about a 30-year company, but I had to roll that down at the economic collapse in 2008, 2009. And, but generally on the technology side. And I was looking for what to do with my life at that point. Once, you start your own company, you're running your own company, that's really in your blood from that point forward. And, crowdfunding really was just at the kind of the peripheral edge of everybody's awareness at that point. I knew the CEO of a company that was doing crowdsourced graphic design. It was just blowing it up. And I thought, hey, this would be a really, really great thing to apply to real estate. It's a very, very difficult industry. It's very capital intensive. You have to have a lot of experience. And, how can I reach out to thousands of people online and be able to focus their different experiential skill sets, their different resources to be able to accomplish something that had been very difficult previously to that, and that might be a lot easier if we all joined together to work together on it, and real estate just lent itself really, really well to that concept. So yeah, my background, my history, about 20 years in building startup companies, generally with technology, especially in the public sector, and now I founded Patch of Land to bring crowdfunding to real estate. And today,
sure.
I work to kind of act as the face of the company to kind of continue our strategic initiatives, to be able to support the team, and be able to introduce Patch of Land to the wider world.
Very good. Very good. Well, let's get started. I mean, I think that in general, you know, everybody, it's been around for a while. The conversation's been there. It's been well publicized on many different fronts, media, et cetera, the whole crowdfunding concept. But maybe if we could start, the best place to begin is maybe the marketplace lending crowdfunding. If you could kind of give the audience an overview of the concept of crowdfunding and why, then also, are we going to be hearing more and more of it? What things have taken place in terms of some legislation and things that has changed recently that the consumers will kind of get an idea why this will become more mainstream as we move along?
Sure. So, you know, as we all know, real estate has been in the past a very local, very insular type industry. It's a very relationship-oriented business. You have these very, very skilled real estate professionals who are looking to complete these great projects and continue to scale up their businesses, and to be able to do that, they've needed a constant, reliable access to capital. And that's been difficult in the past because most real estate professionals have a relatively limited network of funders that they can go to. The banks don't seem to operate very, very well in this particular industry, in commercial real estate at the very least. They can do generally fairly well with primary owner or primary occupant residential real estate, but once you start moving into more of the construction projects or the rehabilitation projects, banks don't seem to do well at that point. So that's kind of limited what these real estate pros have been able to accomplish in the past, because they've only had so much funding and so much access to the funders themselves. And in the past, it really hasn't been legal to go out in a public forum and ask for investment. Ever since the Securities Act of 1933, you really needed to have a pre-existing relationship with an investor to be able to pitch them on something. And that's really where crowdfunding comes in. Crowdfunding was in a public forum, and public solicitation for crowdfunding was made legal through the exemptions in the 2012 Jobs Act, specifically Title II, Title III, and Title IV of that piece of legislation, which now allows us, under certain restrictions, to go out on shows like this, or on TV, or stand on the street corner and yell, "Hey, we've got this opportunity for you to invest in." And that's really, really changed the name of the game. It's taken real estate out from the smoke-filled back room and the Excel spreadsheets out onto the internet, out into the wider world, to give kind of exposure to some of these smaller developers who may not have had that before, and more importantly, to give access to investors who may have a lot of capital and want to make an informed decision on where to put their capital, to an industry that they've had no exposure to before. They didn't know the real estate pros, the contractors, the developers, the builders, and now they can go online, they can find that. So we've done a good job. We've been an industry leader here in being able to provide that level of exposure, provide that level of access, and now our investors can find our qualified professionals online, and they can make a commitment and become real estate investors in 2 minutes flat from their mobile phone, from their couch, and their pajamas in 46 states. And that's really has never been possible before.
Yeah, it's exciting. There's so many things, but this is a wonderful example of how technology, ease of use, access, what it's really bringing to the consumer and the experience and adaptability of what's going on. And in this case, you're talking about real estate now at the fingertips, the individual person be able to go onto a website, decide to invest what makes sense for them, and get involved with what was in the past, as you mentioned, that typically kind of behind the curtains, behind the scenes. So it really opens it up for everybody, doesn't it?
I agree. Yeah, it really does. And you mentioned earlier that how it's becoming more mainstream. And I think we're going to start to see that more and more as time moves on. When we first started this was a kind of a very, very fringe thing. It was more of a novelty. In fact, most people had never even heard about crowdfunding. I'd go to these conferences and ask people, "Hey, who's heard of Kickstarter? Who's heard of crowdfunding?" And out of maybe 100 or 200 people or 1,000 people that were in the room, only a couple of people would put up their hands. But nowadays, we ask about it, and almost everybody puts up their hands. And we're really starting to see some massive kind of institutional players take a real interest in this space. And I think what it's really going to do is kind of smooth out the ability for these professionals to be able to find access to capital at each stage of the real estate cycle, and become a lot more standardized. So as opposed to sometimes you're able to find money and sometimes you're not, and sometimes it's at this rate versus that rate, or sometimes it's under these terms versus those terms. Now you're going to have a very predictable, reliable method to be able to find capital. It's going to be, if you've got a quality project, you've got a quality vision, you've got the wherewithal to pull it off, you're going to be able to find capital.
Perfect. So we'll give it out towards the end too, but if someone wants to know more information, maybe kind of read a little bit about this, sink their teeth in it, so to speak, where's the best place to go for them to find out a little more about the crowdfunding that you guys offer?
Well, the best way to find us is at our website online at patchofland.com, patchofland.com. And you can also reach out to us directly on the phone at any time at 888-959-1465. Get anybody on the phone and ask to speak to me, I'd be happy to talk to you as well.
Right. So is this, again, I just think we have a little less than 2 minutes before our first break, but we can continue this on the other side. Is this as simple as the thing that's great about radio, and I try to do, is just, really paint the picture the best I can and have my guests do the same. This is a collaborative platform that really allows someone to look at different options, take a look, and they could invest as little as $1,000, or is there a minimum or maximum? How does that work?
Currently right now our minimum is $5,000.
$5,000, okay.
And then folks can invest as much as they want into an individual note or an individual project. And that's really important because it allows our investors to kind of diversify. As opposed to having hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest into a single project, in a single state somewhere. Now you can invest smaller amounts of capital across multiple different projects, across multiple different asset classes, across multiple different geographies. And you get that level of diversification, that helps, limit the risk.
Yeah, very good. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation. Really, really good stuff, and exciting to have it in the marketplace. Jason Fritton, who is the co-founder and executive chairman for Patch of Land Conversations Crowdfunding. If you have any questions for Jason, 1-800-516-1220. This is Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. The topic today is crowdfunding, and if you don't know about it, it's a great time to educate yourself and learn. And we have the co-founder and executive chairman of Patch of Land on the line, Jason Fritton. He has been kind enough to spend some time with us today to talk about crowdfunding, kind of the marketplace. We discussed in the first segment what some of the changes that have taken place and how exciting it is for the individual investor, really at different levels, and to be able to educate yourself too. So one of the things I was thinking about during the break, Jason, is there at this point, what kind of activity is it? Are you seeing it isolated in certain areas, for instance, states, geographically, areas, or more of an appetite for this, or is it kind of all over the place, or where do you kind of see the, I don't know if growth's the right word, but maybe more interest?
Well, we see, where you would expect primarily, which, the primary market, the busiest markets. However, we're seeing interest everywhere. Honestly, we've got the kind of the privilege of being in an industry that is very, very underserved by the traditional financial structures out there. The banks don't do well with this. It's become a very fragmented, very dark, oftentimes a very predatory industry. And really what crowdfunding is doing by bringing it online is just kind of shining daylight into all of it. There's
right.
been an enormous amount of interest. This is a $1 trillion industry that's not being served well by the big players out there. And that's a very difficult opportunity to find. So we've seen an enormous amount of opportunity on that, an enormous amount of interest, all over the place, everywhere from Alaska all the way through New York City. But the greatest concentration of interest is where you would expect, New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, and so on. But still an enormous amount of growth potential in secondary markets, tertiary markets, a lot going on there. And we have investors all over the country. In fact, we're constantly every day fielding calls from investors in other parts of the world. There's a lot in that's kind of romantic. That is a good story and very appealing about American real estate. So we're seeing a very global interest in that as well.
Yeah, and I think it couldn't come at a better timing. I mean, doing this show for almost 6 years, of course, maybe it's more apparent to me because I talk to so many different people and I get so much feedback, Jason. But, over the last several years, probably without a doubt, the biggest level of interest, I would say, or area of interest for this show and has been, whether it's callers or emails or, conversations, has been investing and individual investors and where should I invest and, should I invest in this area or outside of this area? And a lot of people are disappointed because, hey, I want to get into the real estate game, but I don't have $200,000, $300,000 to put down on a property here and have, minus cash flow and all that. So people are looking for different areas, different locations. But what this opens up, which is exciting, is, it gives them an opportunity to sift through potential, investment opportunities now for the average investor or someone that could feel like they own a piece of real estate or they could participate at a level now. And that to me is exciting.
Yeah, I think that it's extremely powerful. One of the biggest advantages of crowdfunding is you're joining up with a whole lot of other people that believe the same way you do, or think the same way you do, or find value in this type of opportunity, and investing alongside each other. So you're really spreading out the risk. You're spreading out the capital requirements, so you're able to still get the same return, but with a lower amount of capital, a lower amount of risk into each individual property. So you don't need the $200,000 or $300,000 and then have all your eggs in one basket, hoping that it's a successful project. You're able to take a position in a wide variety of different projects. And for our real estate professionals as well, now you get access to that huge national, even multinational group of investors. And if you have a vision, you have a project that you want to be able to complete and to be able to create. Going online now, it gives you the opportunity to be able to find thousands or hundreds of thousands of people that are going to believe in your vision as well. And so it's really created a massive organic network effect that's been very powerful for both sides of the market.
Yeah, very good. So this could be, we're talking about, we're going to take another break in about a minute or so, but before we do that, so we're talking about someone that wants to do flips. We're talking about someone that wants to invest in potentially, a multi-unit, someone that wants to invest in commercial land. Is it really just across the board, the opportunities?
Yeah, it really is. So we've invested in hotels and motels. We've invested in office space. We've invested a great deal in single-family fix and flip and small multifamily and large multifamily. And as we continue to grow, as the industry continues to grow, you're really going to be able to find a source of income or a source of interest or a source of investment for projects all across the spectrum.
Very good. Yeah, this is good stuff. When we come back, we're going to talk more about crowdfunding and how it's opened the gates and really, opportunities for so many different people at different levels. It's real exciting. If you have any questions for Jason, now's a great time to check in, 1-800-516-1220, or you could also text the questions to 408-838-9060. The conversation, crowdfunding, give us a call, check in. We'll be back with you to continue in just a couple minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. We're joined on the line for the entire hour here by Jason Fritton. He is the co-founder and executive chairman for Patch of Land. The topic today is real estate crowdfunding, and Jason's been kind enough to spend some time. We're talking about the market, the changes. It's a lot of the excitement that brings it to the everyday investor or investor that wants to invest as little as $5,000 and more into any kind of different projects at all. Jason, one of the things that I wanted to ask you again, this is, largely a consumer, the focus that we have had, and the reason that the show is so successful is that, we focus on educating our consumers and providing them with as much information as they can to make them wise consumers in and around real estate in general. So with that, if someone's kind of brand new and they're just hearing about crowdfunding for the first time, obviously they could go do some research on their own. But what might you tell the person that's saying, gee, this sounds kind of cool. Where do I start? Who would I trust? What would you recommend? What kinds of things would you tell a person just kind of, dipping their toe in the water at this point?
Well, I would tell them the same thing that I would really tell them about any investment. It is still an investment, which means there's always an associated amount of risk. You want to do your research a little bit. Crowdfunding, especially crowdfunding in real estate, has become so popular these days. It's still an infant industry, but it's become very, very popular and very well known at this point. And so there's been an enormous amount of kind of new startups that have jumped out in there. Trying to make a name for themselves as well, and some are absolutely great opportunities, and some not so much. So take a look, take a look at what reviews exist for the different types of platforms that are out there. Look for platforms where they put the information out there for you to be able to see it instead of hiding it somewhere where you can. You want to make sure that if you're making an investment into anything at all, you have as much information as possible. So look for platforms that give you access to the executive team where you've got a call-in number. You can actually speak to somebody, ask them questions where there's some accountability, and you can get somebody on the phone and give them a piece of your mind if you need to. And then look for the type of projects that you're really interested in. Right now with real estate crowdfunding, there's two basic categories of crowdfunding. First is equity crowdfunding. We're actually owning a piece of the project and the underlying property that's associated with that. Now, it tends to be a little bit longer term. It tends to be a little bit more speculative. And depending upon how it's structured, the risk can be higher, but often the return can be higher as well. Then on the other side, there is debt crowdfunding, where essentially you're acting to fund part of a loan to a real estate professional in a secured position on title. So determine really what interests you most. Look for areas that you understand to start with until you really get a good understanding of how this works and what the different pitfalls may be. Look for areas that geographic areas that maybe you've got a good understanding of, that you're familiar with, and so on. Real estate is becoming less local, becoming more online, becoming more big data oriented, but it's still at the same time properties can change depending upon what side of the street you're on. So look for areas that maybe you're familiar with, and then diversify. One of the biggest advantages of this is that you can diversify. You don't have to put hundreds of thousands of dollars into a particular project. Look for areas where you put small amounts of capital in and you don't have all your eggs in one basket. And I think that's a good position to start. If I was coming at this brand new, I would find one of the bigger portals that have been out there for a while, the bigger platforms, and I would call in. I would ask to speak to someone and have them just give you a rundown on how the whole thing works personally over the phone. And if they can do that, it shows that there's a good amount of attention being paid on the back end of the platform. You're not just another website visitor.
Very good. Great advice. All right, we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we have a couple segments left with Jason Fritton. He is the co-founder and executive chairman of Patch of Land. The conversation, the topic, crowdfunding. If you have any questions, 1-800-516-1220. We'll be back with you to continue in just a couple minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. We're joined by Mr. Jason Fritton. He is the co-founder and executive chairman for Patch of Land, talking about crowdfunding, and that is the topic today. And before we move along again, just a reminder, you'll be hearing this for the next couple of weeks. We will be discontinuing the live show for Real Estate Radio Live. The exciting part, though, is we will continue the podcasts that have been extremely popular, growing leaps and bounds. The idea is that people want to listen to the show when they can, how they can, and at their convenience. So if you have not done so, make sure, if you're a regular listener and follow the show, make sure you go to RERadiolive.com and download the app. And that way you get the podcast and continue listening to the show every single day like you normally do at your convenience at any time. All right, let's get back to crowdfunding. Jason, I'm going to run some examples. So, for instance, if I have a commercial property in Texas I'm looking for investors on, or, maybe have a 12-unit apartment complex in North Carolina, this is also a avenue or a vehicle, if you will, that I could really list and look for opportunities for these type properties if I wanted to participate with Patch of Land, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you're a real estate professional looking to find funding on properties like that, we're a good place to start. We operate mostly on, it's a crowdfunding lender. But if you're looking for more equity partners as well, I'd be very happy to point you in the right direction to some good folks that we've worked with in the past. And then if you're looking to participate in a project like that, we launch new projects every single week. Several a week at this point. We're actually going to hit the 200 million mark in originations, and we're growing by leaps and bounds. There's a good chance that if you keep an eye on us from week to week, you're going to be able to see exactly kind of what interests you and what you're looking for as well as we continue to grow. We've really launched a lot of new products, a lot of new opportunities, a lot of new asset classes, and a lot of new states. And we're going to keep doing that to the best of our ability here as we continue to grow.
Very good. So let's do this, because I think this is the important part for people. If I'm finding out for the first time, I'm excited about this. So I go to patchofland.com. I decide as an individual person I have a couple of projects, a couple of things I want to invest in. Kind of walk us through, if you would, Jason, the steps a person would be once they're on the website to decide they want to do this. If you could kind of walk us through what that looks like and what a person would have to do to, go through those necessary steps to become an investor.
Sure. So, we make it as easy and as frictionless as possible. The nice thing, because of the changes in the law, we're able to be very, very public about these type of opportunities. We're able to show without a whole lot of paperwork or anything up front. You can go to the site at patchofland.com, patchofland.com. Check out the investment tabs. Those are the projects that we currently have open. You can see some that have already funded, some that still have position within them, the other investors waiting for folks like them as well to join them in investing in that particular opportunity. Click into an individual project, and then you can see all the information that that we've used to be able to determine whether it's a good opportunity or not, the due diligence underneath it, the appraisals, how the cap structure looks, information about the borrower and their experience, and what the exit is in general. And if that particular project is interesting to you, you'll see a little bar on the right that says invest now. You can put the amount you invest in that particular little bar, and it'll walk you through the process from there on out, from digitally signing documents right online to putting in your bank information so you can send the funds right on over. So we make everything as online as possible. And then, if you're a new investor, you've never worked with us before, one of our investment relation personnel will reach out to you, verify some information, and we'll do all the hard work on our side.
Very good. Very good. So that's as this moves forward, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, it's people are making their way, feeling their way around. There's a lot of excitement around. There's a lot of kind of buzz, as there should be, because this is a great opportunity for millions of people to really take part in this type of thing that they've never been able to do in the past. So what kind of things do you see as we look forward, if you can, Jason, being the visionary, you're running this company, as we roll into 2017 and 2018, are there any things that you see that boy, this is probably the next step, Joe, in crowdfunding, or I could see this happening, or obviously it's going to grow, it's going to provide more opportunity. Give us kind of your insight over what this looks like is 2 years ago for sitting or having this conversation. Or I should say 2 years ahead if we're having that conversation. Sure.
Well, I think it's going to continue to become much, much more mainstream. I think you're going to continue to see increased access to different types of projects. Some of the stuff that was only available previously to the powerhouses out there, you're going to have direct access to as the industry grows. In fact, I think this is going to become a very, very standard approach to raising capital for real estate professionals, for real estate firms looking to raise additional capitalization on their projects. This is going to become a normal thing because it's going to be very, very easy through portals like mine, through other portals that exist out there, to where it's not going to become a pain like it used to be able to coordinate thousands and thousands of people. We've made that very, very simple and very, very straightforward and very efficient through the use of technology. So I think that's going to continue to scale in that direction. On top of that, I think you're really going to start to see the ability for individual investors to invest alongside those powerhouses, those Wall Street leviathans that are out there. So a lot of these, these big hedge funds and credit funds and pension funds and real estate firms that have billions of dollars to invest, they do an enormous amount of research on their own, a lot of due diligence. So there's some additional validity to investing alongside firms like those. Now, currently, right now, most of those firms want the entire thing. If they're going to invest in it, they want the whole, $1 million opportunity or $1 billion opportunity, whatever it actually may be. But as they continue to look for the ability to diversify, and that becomes more standard, and the structure behind it becomes more appealing to their CFOs and their executive leadership teams, I think you're going to start to see the ability for the retail investors, the crowd investors, to participate alongside of them.
Very good.
I think that's going to be exciting.
All right. Well, we're going to take our last break. Believe it or not, it's going quick because it's a great conversation and exciting stuff. If you have any questions, one more chance, 1-800-516-1220. We'll be back to finish up with Jason Fritton with Patch of Land in just a couple minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you for joining us this afternoon as we wind down the show. Just a couple of minutes left here. We've been joined for the entire hour by Mr. Jason Fritton. He is the co-founder and executive chairman of Patch of Land. Kind enough to spend some time with us today talking about the topic, crowdfunding. Exciting, fairly new, open to so many different people now on different levels. And so before we go, I want to just, I guess the last thing before I give more contact information, what are some of the things, unfortunately, Jason, we have all this, anytime we have the good, the exciting, the opportunities that are at the fingertips of consumers, unfortunately, there's always those that are going to try to, find ways to mislead and, I guess not to be negative, but I guess just because we're a consumer awareness type project as well, we always like to educate consumers, but, red flags, I guess, is my question. If someone is out kind of looking and someone's talking about, go to this site or talk to this person about crowdfunding, what would be your suggestion to obviously go to your site and contact your people would be my recommendation. Any other things that you would recommend that they just be careful before they make that, jump?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of platforms and kind of real estate crowdfunders that have been popping up in response to the success of this brand new industry. And we haven't seen any massive problems yet, but it's eventually going to happen somewhere. Somebody's going to, mislead somebody. And I always suggest if you're going to invest in something, invest in anything, do your research first. Look for the platforms. Patch of Land is one of them, but there's several others out there as well that do a really good job. Look for the bigger ones. Look for the ones that have a decent amount of funding. This is still a new industry. Look for the ones that you can find some good press on. There's some validation that's associated with that. Look for the ones that you can reach out and talk to. Be careful of ones where you can't find a phone number or you can't get a hold of anybody that's in charge and there's no real accountability there. And then take it small. Take it slow to begin with. Invest a small amount of money to see how it works out and how the process works and what the success actually looks like. Don't just dive headfirst into the deep end of the pool here. Just ease yourself into it. And as I mentioned, you'll reach out to me at any time. I'm always happy to talk with potential investors and happy to point you in the right direction. I'm not allowed to give investment advice by any means, but I can kind of tell you what to look for here in the industry, and I absolutely welcome folks to do that.
We got to go in 30 seconds, so real quick, again, if you could give out the website and any contact information.
Sure. So check us out at patchofland.com, patchofland.com. And you can reach out to us by phone at any time at 888-959-1465.
Great. Jason, thank you so much for your time. Very, very good. Informative for sure. Thank you. This is Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. Finishing up. Be sure to tune in Monday through Friday from 3 to 4. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Take care. Have a great afternoon.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Tune in, log in, download our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com. RERadiolive.com.